welcome. You're watching Market Meter on Money9. I'm Sakshi Batra, and on this show, we get you an update of how the markets have been trading in the first half of trading session and what kind of a trade can we expect going forward from here, how are market fundamentals really looking at the markets right now, where are they headed, and how should you really position your investments now. To help us understand and make the most of what the markets are looking like right now is a very special guest joining in, Mr. Rahul Shah from Motilal Oswal Financial Services joins in. Mr. Shah, good afternoon, and thank you very much for taking out time. How are you looking at the markets? Of course, there's a good screen of green that we are seeing, whether it is the benchmark indices, the Nifty bank, or even the broader markets right now. It's a broad-based buying. But the question everybody's asking, of course, there's also good news on the COVID-19 cases reduction front as well. But is this momentum going to sustain is the question.
Hi, good afternoon. I think obviously 2-3 things to be focused on in current situations. Number one, obviously we're looking at the COVID cases. We are at 1 month low now, so which is very I think positive side. Second news is I think every second day we've been hearing that vaccinations drive will get more and more intense. The government is trying more and more vaccine makers to get tap and get it in India. So I think that's again a positive news. So third thing is obviously the recovery rate is very high. And the fourth important fundamental thing is that I think we've been seeing that global markets are roaring and India has just underperformed in the last 2 months because of the rising cases. So my sense is I think we are here for now, I think for a pickup in terms of, so whenever we have discussed, I think the primary reason for the market sell-off was obviously, the COVID cases. Now I think if you are just trying to understand that, I think there should be a peak out in maybe next 15 days to 20 days. And we've seen the states which have, similarly, if I look at it, top 5 states contributes to around 80% of the COVID cases. Now those things are taken care of. And we've seen that I think majority of those states have a lockdown imposed by their local government. So I think this makes more important that I think the chain has get broken. And as I mentioned about it, the vaccination drive so has been quite good. So my sense is I think near-term markets have taken a breather. So we are right for now a major upward in next couple of months.
So are you looking at banks primarily right now? We're looking at the gains today, and that is clearly being led by the banks again, especially the PSU banking space. That's again riding high on hopes of disinvestment, and we can clearly see it leading the rally in the financial spaces or the banks right now. Is this the space to be for all the investors going forward from here?
Importantly, couple of times I've mentioned and few shows whatever we've done. One thing about I've been very bullish on the financials. So we have to play a contra. So last 2-3 times whenever I've mentioned about it that financials should outperform in going forward. So my sense is I think still there has been a steep movement in the financial stocks today, but I think it should continue to do well going forward as well. So we saw large banks reported the numbers, HDFC, Kotak, ICICI. All of them have reported strong numbers and all of them have given a good commentary about the asset quality. So, and most of them are talking about the market share rather than asset quality. The provision that from their side has been higher, considering that, there could be some more bad debts coming into it. So my sense is they provision very well. The balance sheet is very strong and the recent correction augurs very well for the sector to do well in near term.
Ask you, just a while back, we've also got the WPI numbers, and this month's number is at about 10.5%. So, what kind of outlook do you have on the inflation front, and what kind of an impact do we see on the particular sectors that are completely linked to it, especially keeping in mind that this is the number for April, and we've actually seen most of the commodity prices really rising even higher, especially even the fuel, diesel prices, all of that also being hiking in the month of May. So there may be a case that we may see inflation also inching up higher in the month of May as well.
It's very clear. This entire rally, if we see in March and April, is more driven by the cyclical stocks. So we saw the steel metal prices soaring high. We saw cement prices going higher. We saw sugar prices going higher. So I think this what we are looking at it right now, and this cyclical stocks or a movement in the commodity is not a local; it's entire global. So just to give a perspective, we are in Korea or maybe in Taiwan, we are still trading 12 to 15% discount in the steel prices in India. So I think India, as if you look at it, because of the COVID things, I think the price movement has not been so sharp. So I think this might continue, but I think that's a global thing. So it will be global inflation is going to rise, right? So that's why we are seeing in US that where the rates are also better, the bond yields have spiked up from maybe almost flat to 1.6, 1.68, and what we've seen is the concern is the globally inflation risk rather than domestic. So I think the inflation would be higher in May as well.
Okay, okay, understood that as well. Now, looking at some of the stocks that perhaps you're looking at, what would they be, and where which sectors are on top of your radar currently?
So one is obviously I mentioned was banks. So
Yeah.
financials, I'm very positive. So in financial space, I like the corporate lenders like ICICI, SBI. So my top is right now ICICI Bank. They came out with very fantastic numbers this quarter. The commentary was quite good. There's a deep value in the bank from trading at just 2.2 times book, and plus the core value of their subsidiaries. If you put it all embedded together, there's a deep value. So I think ICICI is a one stock which I've been recommending with a target of 750 from the current levels. That is what I'm looking at.
Okay, and this is from the banking space, which would be your other stock that you're recommending. Is pharma still on your top radar right now?
Yeah, so I have been bullish on pharma space for quite some time. So it's going to be a continued wave for next couple of months, where or couple of quarters still in terms of pharma pack as a whole. There's a visibility of earnings in the pharma space. The spending is going to be high, which looks like to be a next FMCG for next 2-3 quarters at least. So either vaccine makers or the people providing the medicines for the COVIDs. So there are two opportunities other than the normal business what they have lost. So I think this will continue, and when the things open up, I think all these large pharma makers are going to get benefited more and more going forward. So in that space, I've been liking Sun Pharma. The stock has obviously done quite well in last couple of months, but I think that's for the entire pharma as a basket. So I think a lot of traction on the overall core businesses, plus the specialty services businesses, especially the chemical business services on the Sun Pharma side. So I feel that could be some more upside from the stock in a near term. So I would recommend with a target of 800 to buy Sun Pharma.
Okay, ICICI Bank and Sun Pharma on your top radar. Before I let you go, actually, I needed your perspective on the companies and the stocks that have really reported the earnings right now. One, of course, from the pharma space is Cipla. We've seen the stock really declining after it has missed the earnings estimates. What is your call here? We have seen Cipla really outperform and also being one of the preferred picks by most of the analysts. Going forward from here, what is your recommendation for all the investors?
I think Cipla's numbers were in line with what the street was estimating, but the prices have moved up quite sharply in near term. So I think so there has been a sideways to a negative approach by the investors, and I think my sense is that I think it's fully valued in terms of valuation. So I see a very limited upside in Cipla from the current levels. So I would avoid any further buying from the current levels in Cipla.
Okay, one more stock, and that is Balkrishna Industries. Now, the stock has hit record high after stellar numbers. We've seen, in fact, the profit rising almost 44% this time around. So, stellar numbers coming in there. It has already performed in the tire space, outperformed this space completely. Are you bullish on this stock? What is your take here?
I think Balkrishna is basically a net exporter of the tires. And they make the industrial tires, and their majority of the revenue comes from the European countries. So my sense is, I think the numbers are very stellar, and I think when we are talking about the global demand recovering and the global things becoming back on track, so I think Balkrishna is one which is going to get benefited out of it. So my sense is it will continue to do well for a couple of more quarters as well. So I would recommend holding to the stock from the current levels.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Shah, for sharing your views on the markets, the particular sectors that we spoke of, and the stock recommendations that you've shared with all our Money9 viewers as well. Moving on, let's quickly see how the markets are really trading at this point in time. Of course, at the high point of the trading day, and you can clearly see over 1% higher for the Nifty 50. It's up at 14,852, added almost about 180 odd points right now. 630 points of an addition for the Sensex. It's not only climbed the 49,000 mark, it's now inching towards 49,000. 49,500, 49,363, the current level with 1.3% gains there. The Nifty Bank clearly outperforming right now, 3% uptake, 33,125, and it's added almost 1,000 points in today's trading session. So that's something that is really leading the rally right now and cheering the markets head on right now. For the broader market space, of course, it is also performing in tandem with the benchmarks, over 1% higher for both the mid caps and the small caps. A broad-based buying is what is being seen. Of course, the markets are looking, forefront and just thinking that perhaps the worst of COVID-19 or the worst of second wave is behind us. And we have been talking about it on our Money9.com website as well. We've been collating a whole lot of data from top brokerage houses like CLSA, CRISIL, Edelweiss Financial Services as to how they are really looking at the impact of second wave, and now how are they seeing the peaking out of the cases, and when do they really expect the normalization of economic activity also happening in the country. So look out for those articles as well. Moving on, let's quickly see how the sectors are really placed at this point in time and what kind of action are we seeing there. Gains clearly coming in from financial services. PSU banks up at 3.2% higher today. Private banks also inching closer at 2.8% uptake. Financial services up 2.3% right now, almost 2% uptick for the realty stocks, and the auto indices are also riding in top gear at almost 2.2% uptick currently. 0.5% uptick for IT, FMCG closing in higher as well, and some of the indices that are just booking some profits there. Pharma, 0.5% downtick and 0.3% downtick for the metals right now. Inching closer is media index down to 0.2% also in trade right now. The gainers and the losers pack. Let's look how the picture really looks like at this point in time for the Nifty 50 gainers and the losers. So most of the banks and financial names are definitely there on the top 5 charts of the Nifty 50, starting with State Bank of India up almost 5% higher. And we have seen the technical experts really recommending that on Money9.com as a trading bet as well for the near term. ICICI Bank, a fundamental pick by even Rahul Shah on the show. So keep an eye out on that. It's up 3.5% too. UPL continues with 4% uptick. IndusInd Bank, Bajaj Finserv also higher by almost 3 to 4.5% in trade right now. As far as the losers pack is concerned, let's see which are the names that are finding place here. Of course, it's Cipla down 2.9%. It's already run up quite a lot, and the numbers, whether it has met, on some parameters, the street estimates, they have also missed the estimates at some accounts, and thereby you can see some kind of pressure coming in there. L&T, Tata Steel, Bharti Airtel, and Sun Pharma, the other counters that are dragging the street right now with about 1.5% losses on the street currently. We'll keep you posted as to how the markets really close in today's trading session, move towards the second half, and we can clearly see about 2.5 hours remaining when we will see the action closing in. But there is an expectation that the momentum will sustain. We'll keep you updated on that. So stay tuned with us on Money9.com too.